he met up with acquaintance 2 at a Maverick gas station in Draper and purchased from him 15 to 30 round green-blue pills, which she understood to be fentanyl.
1 or 2 pills might be accidental. 20 or 5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the case of Kouri Richins, a Utah mom accused of killing her husband and then writing a grief book about it. Richins is accused of fatally poisoning her husband Eric with fentanyl that she allegedly acquired from her housekeeper, Carmen Lauber. Now, the allegation was based off of interviews with Lauber and the man said to have supplied her the drugs, named Robert Crozier. Well, now, Kouri Richins' defense team says that Crozier recanted months ago and accuses prosecutors of withholding that information. Here's the detective being asked about the drugs at one of Richins' preliminary hearings.
Can you say with certainty that the pills that Ms. Lauber allegedly gave to Ms. Richins were the pills that were taken by Eric Richins, or the pills that were taken, if any pills were taken by Eric Richins?
No.
And as you sit here right now, do you have any idea, like actual knowledge, not an idea, let me rephrase that, do you have any knowledge of how fentanyl got into Mr. Richardson's system, Mr. Richardson's system? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, so does this change things? So now her defense team is saying that because this witness first said that he provided them and then said that he didn't provide them, he gave contradictory statements. What does that do to her bail situation, right? Let's talk about bail and then let's talk about the trial, okay? Let's bring in our legal eagles, Mario Gallucci and Ben Chu. Okay, Mario, starting with the bail, help us out here. So you're a defense attorney, as we know. Does this tip the scales, this bit of information, or not so much with the bail?
Well, I mean, she's charged with murder, but there is a change in circumstance here. You know, initially he said that he provided fentanyl to her and that he provided the fentanyl. When he made that statement, he said he was detoxing while he was in prison. And now that he made other statements to the prosecutors this year in April that contradicts that original statement, saying that I believe he said he gave her oxycodone. So I believe her attorneys are trying to say that if you don't have fentanyl in her hand, that completely changed the circumstance, because now she can't be capable of murdering him with fentanyl if she never possessed the fentanyl. So yeah, it is a bail argument. Whether or not it works is, it's still murder. So, there's always the incentive for somebody to flee when they're charged with a crime that can end them up with, the rest of their life in jail. But it's a good argument. It's an argument I would make. There's a complete change in circumstance. They're also arguing that it's a Brady violation, that the prosecutors knew about this information and never turned it over. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on going forward here.
Yeah, really sharp analysis, Mario. Thank you. So the housekeeper told police that she bought the dope from this guy, Crozier. And police interviewed him in May of 2023 when he got arrested on dope charges himself. And at that point, he admitted to selling the housekeeper fentanyl twice in the year 2022. Apparently, Kouri Richins' defense team interviewed him. They have a sworn affidavit from him where he says that he has no memory of doing the interview with police in 2022, or in 2023, excuse me, because he says he was detoxing from his own drug problems and was out of it. So the DA's office goes back to interview him again 2 years later in 2025, and that's when he said he never sold the housekeeper fentanyl, says it was OxyContin instead. All right, Ben Chu, what do you think this does for Ms. Richins at trial? Does this tip the scales at trial, in your view?
Julie, I do. I think it really goes, in addition to the bail issue Mario talked about, I think it goes to reasonable doubt. And I think this really, at least in some jurors' minds, will create the reasonable doubt that could lead to an acquittal here.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, tracing the fentanyl back to the source, the supplier, if you will, is probably key in a case like this. Mario, you touched on this earlier. So the defense team is upset, and I say understandably so, that the DA's office wasn't forthcoming with how this guy changed things in 2025. In 2023, he says he sold it twice to the housekeeper, and then 2025 says no, that wasn't the case, and that it was oxys instead. Tell me, how bad is it that they withheld that? If we take what this defense team says as true, that these prosecutors withheld that information from her team.
It's very big. It's bad. Prosecutors have an obligation to turn over any material that could prove your client's innocence. And if they've been holding on to this material, I believe since April, without disclosing that to the defense, it could lead to sanctions. It could lead to them not being able to present evidence. It could lead, I mean, to problems with their own bar admission, depending on, you know, how severe the lack of turning that over becomes. This could be a very, very big issue, not only for the trial, but for these attorneys going forward. I mean, I'm a former prosecutor. Julie, you're a former prosecutor. That's the top of the food chain. You do not hold on to exculpatory material. You turn that over immediately. No matter how much it hurts, you turn that over.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right, my friend, exactly right. And Mary, I know we're going to have to let you go in a moment, so I want to ask a follow-up to you, please. So in addition to this ask of bail, Kouri Richins' attorneys are asking the court to order the prosecutors to disclose all emails, texts, everything related to their communications with that guy, Mr. Crozier, and they want it done within 3 days. Reasonable ask?
Absolutely. I mean, the court has to investigate when they knew of this, how they became aware of it, what they talked about when they found this out. It's huge. This is going to be investigated. This is a problem for the prosecution here. It's a big problem.
Great point.